All right. The London game got the first London game of the year. Jets Vikings. Vikings favored by 2.5. The total 40.5, so lower total. Two pretty good defenses here. On the Vikings side, actually, let's start with the Jets. I'll go with former Viking Tyler Conklin. He is a cheap play and running around on 90% of the dropbacks. The Vikings are allowing 8.6 schedule adjusted targets to tight ends. That's third most according to FTN. So Conklin, you got the routes. You got a cheap price. That's what you're looking for. And then I'll also mention the other tight end on the opposite side, Johnny Munt. So the Jets really haven't been giving up anything to tight ends. They've been really good against the position, but that'll probably suppress his ownership. And Jalen Naylor and Brandon Powell split wide receiver 3 duties last week. So Powell's an option, but Naylor's the better player. He's just priced up more. So I think the value in terms of routes is actually on Johnny Munt because he's the same price essentially, or even a little cheaper than Powell. And he's projected to be on the field about 70% of the dropbacks, whereas Powell and Naylor is probably about 40% each, 40% each. So Johnny Munt, especially after Josh Oliver scored a touchdown last week, I don't think many people will be on Munt in this spot, but he's been getting pretty consistent route rate, and every once in a while he'll pop off for a game, and maybe Darnold needs to start looking for it more after the way they ended that that game against Green Bay. It was kind of ugly. All right, let's go to the main slate. First up, we got the Dolphins at Patriots, -1 for the Pats, home favorites. The total 35.5. Ugly. Who do you like?
First off, that total seems pretty high at 35.5, if you ask me.
Right.
But this isn't a game that I would be, seeking players out. But if I must, I think Jalen Polk is a good dart throw here. He's 3,700. But he finally emerged as, the top wide receiver for the Patriots, at least in terms of routes run rate, with the season high 87% last week. He was only able to convert that in 3 catches for 30 yards, but you're not expecting much from this passing attack anyway. And the Dolphins defense has been shaky. So I think, Polk could, get a couple longer catches here. But either way, he's more of just like, I don't know, like a higher floor play at 3,700. There's just not much to like in this slate, but I still think Polk, he's worth investing in his upside. I think he's a talented rookie. So I think if you do target someone from this game, Polk would make sense at such a cheap price tag at 3,700.
Yeah, and we're hearing we might actually get some Drake May sooner than we think. So that's always nice. That could always boost everyone's ceiling in this game if you just get Drake May in like the second quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it. Yeah, he was up to what, like almost mid 80% in terms of the route rate. Last
87%.
87%. Yeah, it's a season high, so that's encouraging. Next up, we got the Ravens at the Bengals. Ravens favored by 2.5 on the road. The total is 51. I'm going to roll with Mike Gesicki here. He's 3,400. He's still not running a route on as many dropbacks as we'd like, only about 50%, a little over that. And Eric All, the rookie tight end, he's also a dart throw, and he's playing well as well. But Gesicki still, I think, has some value against Baltimore. They've allowed the second most schedule-adjusted targets and yards to the tight end position, according to FTN, 8.9 targets, 81 yards per game. And Mike Gesicki is underlying, target rate looks pretty good in this offense. Now, T. Higgins is back, so that cuts into it a little bit. But still, I think, Mike Gesicki, talented player, not really going to get too much coverage. And this could be a higher scoring game, which I think, that's what Gesicki's going to need to really hit his ceiling. So he's going to be a very low floor, could goose egg, but like the ceiling here for Gesicki. I think he got an overturned touchdown, was it a couple weeks ago? So he's underperforming like his, expectation as well. All right. Bills looking to rebound, just a gauntlet of games. First Baltimore, now you got to go to Houston to play this Texan team. Texans favored by 1. The total was 47. Who do you like in this spot?
I like Matt Collins here at 3,100. Heading into Sunday Night Football, I was 8-2. I felt like having some fun, so I was on Matt Collins over, and I quickly realized or remembered how painful it is for us to root for overs. So
Oh man.
that was awful. But he's led this wide receiver room in terms of routes run rate on the season, averaging 78%. Very low target guy, but like I said, this week he saw 6 targets in what was a trailing game script. I figured when they're trailing, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive. Matt Collins is more of the downfield, higher ADOT kind of receiver in this group, along with MVS. So that could be a similar game script here. Not quite a blowout, but still, this is going to be a game where the Bills are going to be more pass heavy to just keep up with the Texans offense. And of the 5 incompletions to Matt Collins, like a lot of them, it was like there's many of them, believe me. Josh Allen and Matt Collins, they weren't on the same page, and the field is kind of slippery. And you got to remember, Matt Collins, he rarely wears shoes, so the field conditions were probably like even more extreme for someone like him. So now that we're kind of in a dome environment in Houston, I'm expecting less shoe issues for Matt Collins. So I think he'll catch a couple more balls here. But either way, I like the upside he provides at 3,100 in what should be a shootout here.
Yeah, it can't get much worse though. His last 3 games, he's had 9 targets for 21 yards, 2 catches. So but in week 1, 2 for 25 and a touch. So that's, if he could do that once every 4, he's due, right? Yeah, that's what we're kind of looking for here.
Experience, baby. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't even look at that. I didn't see that stat line. 6 targets, 5 yards last week. What is he, a tight end? What is he, Brock Bowers? Kyle Pitts?
It's even worse. He caught like the first throw of the game for like 5 yards.
I saw that. Yep.
They're trailing by like 30. They're just running this air raid offense. Just he's out there seeing targets, running routes. Couldn't. The problem is 12.5. I'm not like.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Like, yeah. It was.
Should have just took that Curtis Samuel under.
Well, yeah, no, just any under. Just for unders it's way more fun. People trust me. So yeah, I was giving Charlie DeCirco shit about overs because again, it's just you rather root for an under. You're winning it until you're not. So lessons learned.
Yeah, but in this case, we're rooting for over with Matt Collins.
Yes, or a long touchdown for sure.
Cleveland at Washington. The Commanders favored by 3. The total 44.5. I'm going to roll Elijah Moore here. It's kind of a squeaky wheel situation, but he had a bad matchup last week against the Raiders. Now he gets Washington, and Washington's been one of the worst teams against wide receivers, period. So I think this is a decent bounce back spot. And obviously, everyone's going to be on Amari Cooper. I think Jerry Jeudy is going to attract some attention as well because he's been running around at over 90%. So Moore is kind of the forgotten guy, especially if Njoku returns. No one's really going to be thinking about Moore too much, but he's still averaging about an 82% route rate on the season. And I just think this matchup, sneaky one for Elijah at 3,500. The price is right. Somebody's going to go off on this Browns team, even with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. So yeah, give me some Elijah. Colts at Jags. Jags favored by 2.5. The total 46.5. Jonathan Taylor questionable with an ankle injury in this one. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with Alec Pierce here. He's a little pricey. He's 4,900. So I think his rostership could be a bit lower, kind of spending up to be contrarian here. But there's just a lot of moving pieces on the Colts right now. It's really tough to project them because I'm assuming Jonathan Taylor is going to miss this week, which should make the Colts a bit more pass heavy, and Anthony Richardson might be out. So Joe Flacco would kind of make them more pass heavy. And I've always been saying that when Joe Flacco's under center, it's going to really boost all the pass catchers' value. And the Jags defense is one where we kind of want to use pass catchers against them. So Michael Pittman, Josh Downs are going to be fantastic high-end options if Flacco's under center here. But I think, Alec Pierce, certainly worth a dart throw here. He's going to be running route 80 to 85% of Flacco's dropbacks or Richardson. And plenty of time to see a downfield target or two. So I think out of the group, he stands out as a dart throw. And, A.D. Mitchell he's always worth a dart throw. One of these passes, he's going to catch a touchdown.
Yep, I was just about to say.
There was 2 passes where he could have easily scored on him, but for whatever reason, good defense. He was blanking on one of them. But if he gets on the same page with Flacco, he could have a big game. So I think Mitchell's always going to be worth the dart throw. And he saw his routes run rate back up over 25%. It was at 27%. So he's a player that, in bigger GPPs where you're really looking for a flyer, you could certainly do worse than 80 Mitchell.
Yeah, the last week he had 67 incomplete air yards. The week before, 38. So over the past 2 weeks, he's had 105 incomplete air yards. So yeah, he's due. He's definitely due for one. All right, Carolina, Chicago. The Bears favored by 4. The total 42.5. I'm going to actually go back to you liked him last week. He did absolutely nothing. Tommy Tremble, but sometimes this is what happens. A guy's just not part of the game plan one week. He was out there about 90% of the pass snaps, ran a route. 77% of the time for the second straight week. So the underlying usage is good. And because he was out there at such a high rate and didn't do absolutely nothing, people will probably be off of him. But usually the routes, targets are going to follow the route. So on the season, only a 9% target rate. So probably due for a little regression there. I have his true target rate around just about 14-15%. So I think he's due for a little bit of bump. Ran 33 routes last week, 30 routes the week before, 77% route rate in both games. So that's really all you're looking for here. And there's going to be a lot of, Roshan Johnson, and I'm sure the Carolina, Mingo, and we'll get a little priced up, but there's going to be a lot of other options where Tremble is going to go completely under the radar, but you're getting the routes, and it's tight end, right? So Tommy Tremble, he catches a touchdown, he might finish his TE5 or something like that. 1 catch, 6 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. Tremble busted for me this week. I think he's going to go off for you, of course, but 0 catches last week. You know who else had 0 catches? Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews. I'm sure I'm missing some other stud tight end, but yeah, you just can't get caught playing whack-a-mole with tight ends. If anything, it's better to invest in these guys after a dud like this, because like you said, the usage is there. He's going to get his one of these weeks where he catches a few passes, and I think his ownership, especially after last week, is going to be really, really low. So love him as a dart throw here.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Chicago 27th in DVOA against tight ends. Let's go to the Cards at the Niners. Niners favored by a touchdown, 7.5 at some spots. The total right around 50. Who do you like in this NFC West showdown?
Got to go with my boy Michael Wilson here at 4,400. Wilson's always going to be a sneaky flyer. I think he's very underrated still. And most people are going to be on, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, assuming he's back this week. For good reason. Those are the top 2 targets. But, Michael Wilson, he's a good downfield weapon, a good red zone weapon. So all we need is, a longer catch or a longer touchdown catch here, and he'll hit value here. This is a matchup where, the Cardinals will likely be down most of the time. They're 7.5-point underdogs right now. So this is just a great spot for Michael Wilson. Last week I was on Greg Dortch because with, Trey McBride out, that bumps up Dortch in my model. But with all the weapons there, I think it does set up defenses to kind of pay attention to the top 2 targets a little bit more and open up things for Michael Wilson. So I think this is just a great matchup, great spot for, take a flyer on Michael Wilson here at 4,400.
Oh, yeah, we love Michael Wilson. I think he's a good player. So that just hopefully Kyler Murray can get it going down the field. It's just been he had the one breakout game, and it's just been nothing. But I think Wilson is a talented guy. Raiders, Broncos in Denver. Denver favored by 3. The total 36.5. I'm going to go with Trey Tucker in this one. He is 4,100. I think he came through for you last week, right, with a touchdown. He scored 2 weeks straight, and I think Devontae Adams sounds like he's going to be out again, as is Mayer. But even if they play, I like Tucker because he has a lot of speed, a lot of upside. He had 10 carries for 77 yards last year. This year, his first carry went for a 3-yard touchdown. He caught 7 of 9 for 96 and a touchdown a couple weeks ago at Carolina, and then 5 for 41 last week with Mayer and Adams out on 6 targets. He ran a route on 93% of the dropbacks, and he's just kind of worked his way into that. He's that number 3 receiver. He's been 83% or more route rate in 3 of the 4 games. So he's not even totally dependent on guys missing time. And he's one of those guys that can play inside, outside, and get some high ADOT targets as well. So remember, he had that big breakout game against the Chargers last year when the Raiders put up 60. So he has some upside. So like Trey Tucker, going back to the well here.
Do you think Patrick Surtain shadows anybody in this matchup, or just kind of covers Myers and Tucker equally?
I mean, it would probably be Myers if anyone.
That would only help then.
Yeah, I don't think Tucker's the kind of guy you would want Surtain to shadow. I mean, I could be wrong, but yeah, I would think Myers would still be. Myers got 10 targets last week, so he's still he would be considered the number 1 if Adams were out. Okay, Giants at the Seahawks. Giants coming off the long rest. Malik Neighbors questionable with in concussion protocol. The Seahawks are favored by 6. The total is 42.
Darius Slayton at 3,900 right now. And this Giants passing offense is so top heavy right now with Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson just dominating targets. But Slayton's out there, the clear number 3 wide receiver, running around on 85% of Daniel Jones' dropbacks this year. He's actually caught 3 passes in 3 or 4 games this year too, so he's actually being pretty productive, all things considered. So he's the kind of guy that's always a threat for a potential downfield target or 2. So I think in this matchup where, it'll likely be a pass-heavy trailing game script, he's certainly worth a flyer at 3,900, no matter what Neighbors' status ultimately is. If Neighbors is in, he's a very sneaky dart throw in big tournaments. But if Neighbors is out, his ownership will be much higher, but I think probably not high enough. So I think Slayton, either way, for me, will be a dart throw at 3,900 here.
Yeah, he's like A.D. Mitchell. Him and Daniel Jones have had a bunch of near misses. I mean, I can just off the top of my head, I remember like 3 or 4 already this year where it could have gone for big yardage. So,
which is, I mean, they probably have the most chemistry out of.
They do, yeah. They've been there. So. If you look at Daniel Jones's just career splits with different receivers, Slayton's usually at the top. So, yeah, I mean, it hasn't worked out yet this year really too much, but like you said, he's still been. He's always earning that playing time over over Jalen Hyatt, who's looking like a crazy bust at this point.
150 ADOT target a game.
Incomplete. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess do you over under.
Ooh.
Over under a half a touchdown for Jalen Hyatt this year.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh man, I think over. I think he'll catch a long one. I thought you were going to offer me an air yards prop.
Like a completed air yards,
no, just like over under 32.5 air yards this week. But with Neighbors being questionable, that's kind of a tricky line. But yeah, that's a fun one.
I mean, knowing Brian Daboll, if Neighbors is out, you'll just see Bryce Ford Wheaton take all of his snaps, and like Hyatt will remain in the same situational deep threat role.
Yep, exactly.
They'll trot out Amir Smith-Marset or somebody out there.
David Sills, the 5th or the 4th.
I think he's isn't he on Denver? I thought he was on.
I don't.
I think he's on Denver.
He went the way of Cole Featheringham.
Featheringham, yeah. No, he's Sills the 5th is on the Broncos practice squad, but they already got like 6 receivers up, so I don't think he's getting called up. Well, I think Mims got banged up, so who knows? All right, last game on the main slate: Packers at Rams. The Rams are 3.5-point underdogs at home. The total is 48. Got to go with Jordan Whittington at 4,600. Just a ton of upside. He might be that Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua replacement. 97% route rate last week. And on the Packers side, Tucker Kraft 3,500, 86% route rate last week. Top 10 tight end in our rankings this week. So you got some options in this spot. But I think, like, going with some of like the guys who didn't who are kind of busts these last few weeks, like Musgrave and like a Tyler Johnson. That's also an option too, because this should be a fairly high scoring game, and I do think Whittington and Kraft they're great plays, but they'll probably be pretty popular. So like a Tyler Johnson and a Luke Musgrave would be the pivots.